The journey through Mr. Brocato's honors English class. Around the bases. Quarter number 1. Before I talk about my experience this quarter, I believe it is only right to have Billy Madison share his opinion on going back to school.
Oh, back to school, to prove to Dad that I'm not a fool. I got my lunch packed up, my boots tied tight. I hope I don't get in a fight. Oh, back to school, back to school, back to school. Well, here goes nothing.
I began the year walking to first base. It was the first quarter of freshman year and nothing seemed to be going my way. The first quiz in bio, flunked it. Oh yeah, and my To Kill a Mockingbird Mad 40 was stellar, rounding out at 57%. That's pretty good, I'd say. Those 2 grades alone were the worst grades I've ever received in my life. So, my first 2 grades of the year weren't too hot, and to only make matters worse, I'm a freshman athlete with a high voice. Let's just say the upperclassmen have a ball imitating it. I don't want to get into the details. In English class, I was lost. Completely lost. Every single one of my essays stated English 218 instead of Honors English 117. Being a moron, I just said the name of the class and the room number. Although, by the end of September, English 218 had evolved to Honors English 218, no bio reference intended. Not only was the class wrongly labeled on these essays, but these essays were absolute trash. First quarter essays belonged in the junkyard. The first essay I had written was about my first day of high school. Pretty creative, huh? The hook summarizes just how great this essay really was. Summer flies, doesn't it? I think that deserves a huge applause, don't you? Alright, this essay was pretty bad. After writing my next essay about my favorite childhood memory, which was going to opening day of the Sox on my birthday the year they won the World Series, I had realized that my writing really needs better organization and structure. This essay was all over the place. The Purdue Owl was like a god to my portfolio. Whenever my writing needed upgrading, that was the place to go. The Owl taught me that when writing a narrative, it is important to only include the main points and ideas, not the little details. I also wrote an essay about cross-country freshman states. Just some background information, I hate running. Don't ask why I ran cross-country, please, after the presentation. Although I strongly dislike running, I love this quote. Cross-country is a mind game, pushing you every step to run harder and keep going. It is only the mentally tough people who can dare to run cross-country. People who are willing to give 150% and never give up. I decided to do my research essay on performance-enhancing drugs, otherwise known as steroids. Throughout the essay, I stated multiple reasons why I think there should be better drug testing, also providing the facts on why athletes should not use steroids. My final essay of the quarter was an analytical essay about one of my favorite movies, Remember the Titans. A line that gives you an overview of my ideas is, Remember the Titans shows how respect is a cure to the virus of racial hatred. In a variety of wonderful scenes, the filmmakers show us how these black and white boys learn to salute the inner greatness of each other's souls. The sport of football becomes a laboratory for racial harmony and common effort. The last essay I had written first quarter showed my progression, but overall, the rest of my essays belong in the junkyard, and this quarter was a fail. After first quarter, I realized that my efficiencies in my writing was my creativity, personality, and tone. In the following quarters, I had to continue to work on my structure, organization, and transitions. This quarter is also when BK became B. Kelley. First quarter, I was conservative in my writing. Second quarter was a different story. Quarter number 2. I stole second base. This quarter was all about taking risks in my writing. Cross country had finally ended, thank God. I had 1 free month to relax until basketball season had begun. Like I said earlier, this quarter was about risk-taking. Whether the risk failed or was successful, I took it and never second-guessed my decision. I started off with small risks, getting riskier every essay. I wrote an essay about the effect of EGHS matters on the high school, I talked about how EGHS Matters was able to unify a school as one, complimenting each other on Twitter, whether it's sports, classroom actions, or general compliments to one another. My hook to this essay is what I call a small risk, luring my reader in by asking 3 questions. Hashtag EGHS Matters. Is it just a hashtag, or is it more than that? Possibly a school's identity? I personally thought that this risk was a successful one. The next 2 essays were terrible and boring. The first was about the greatest dictator in the history of China who killed millions, Mao Zedong, and the second was about being a great leader in all realms. In this essay I tried the question hook risk again, but it failed miserably. It is so awful I'm not willing to share it. Another risk I took this quarter was once again a hook. This essay was about Christmas time, so I thought it would be interesting to begin my essay with lyrics from the song It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year. I just stated the first few verses of the song in my essay. I was originally going to sing the song now, but then I realized I'm not a very good singer, so I decided not to. Although I can't sing, I do believe this risk was a successful one. My final risk of this quarter came in my last essay. This was my largest risk, but it was successful. This paper was about the power of sports. In my final statement of the essay, I used the famous quote from Nelson Mandela, which I believe was very powerful. Sport has the power to change the world. It has the power to inspire. It has the power to unite people in a way that little else does. It speaks to youth in a language they understand. Sport can create hope where once there was only despair. It is more powerful than government in breaking down racial barriers. This quarter, my transitions improved tremendously. I was now able to connect my thoughts and ideas fluently, allowing my writing to flow smoothly. But I still needed to work on that organization, which will be the goal for third quarter. Quarter number 3. I dove headfirst into third base, essentially letting everything go. For me, this quarter is when I spoke mainly about my emotions and what I really felt inside. Basketball season was already underway, and I felt free, open to doing anything, saying anything, and writing anything. Prior to previous quarters, I was writing for the love of writing, to get my ideas on paper. This quarter, the portfolio was almost like a diary in a sense like that. I wrote what I felt inside, and it was mine. Not yours, it was my portfolio. I could do whatever I wanted with it. The You're Not Special essay brought out the passion and fire within me. More fire than I had realized. Word after word, the 2-page essay was completed in no time, as my mind was racing with statements and reasons supporting my view on the topic. One after one, weekend after weekend, I strived and accomplished to write essays, not by will, but by choice. I wrote an essay in which I talked about over the past few months death came on my doorstep. Family, friends, and old neighbors. The essay was titled Knowing or Not Knowing. A question was presented to me. Would you rather know when you were going to die or die unexpectedly? In the essay, I talk about how my old neighbor got in a car accident and went into an endless coma. He died the day after he was in the accident. He was a loving father of 2 kids ages 15 and 8. This past summer, a family friend had been diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. It's my mom's best friend. She is the mother of 2 kids ages 13 and 7. For all of you who don't know, pancreatic cancer is among the deadliest and hardest to survive. I'm happy to say she is still living, but unless for a hopeful miracle, she will pass away soon. My conclusion to the question is that I would rather know when I'm going to die because I still have the chance to say my goodbyes and not being cliche, but live my life to the fullest. Quarter number 3 was also the poetry unit. Poetry isn't really my thing, so I tried to get better at writing multiple poems in my portfolio. Although I'm not a great poet, I believe I did justice slamming my slam poem. I feel after writing essays this quarter, I have become more of a mature writer. But that doesn't have any influence on my personality, obviously. Although I became a more mature writer, I believe in writing about such heartfelt topics I began to shy away from working on my organization. By the end of the year, I will be a more organized writer. Quarter number 4.
I'm coming home, tell the world I'm coming home, let the rain wash away all the pain of yesterday. I know my kingdom awaits, and they've forgiven my mistakes. I'm coming home.
On the backbone of summer, that's all anyone could think about. But our teachers assured us we were still a long way away from the end of the school year, although it's only a few months. Summer constantly in the back of my mind probably wasn't the best idea when writing my mock college essay. Let's just say it was not too good at all. After receiving a bad grade on the paper, I got my head back in check. I was now focused for the home stretch of the school year. I continued to write poetry. I thought to myself, write about what you love, so I did. Sports. I wrote a poem about basketball and professional sports. In that summertime mood, I wrote an essay about how sometimes less schoolwork is more. Throughout the essay, I stated multiple reasons why students should not be given so much homework and why it is beneficial to give less. My progression and regression speech was a great success. After Mr. Brocato telling me how much I have improved as a public speaker since the beginning of the year, I was proud and happy with what I had done. I hate the Odyssey. Cannot stand it. Having to read this book and create this presentation was quite the hassle, but I completed both. I did like the Odyssey movie though. Over the course of the year, I had learned many things in Mr. Brocato's class. You're going to have to complete countless things that you don't want to do, but in the long run, it's worth it. Don't get me wrong, the 24 essays, 12 rewrites, 4 deficiencies to efficiencies, and 4 assessment proposals were a pain in the butt. Although, when I look back at the year, I see how much I have accomplished, not just completing all the assignments, but as a writer, improving in all the concepts that were once the weaknesses at the beginning of the year. These concepts are now my strengths in writing. As my portfolio became thicker, I became a better writer. After each and every essay, I made mistakes that I learned from, allowing my writing to improve that much more. My portfolio and I have come so far that I think it is right that we should be a little cocky.
Well, you can tell everybody, yeah, you can tell everybody, go ahead and tell everybody, I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man, yes I am, yes I am, yes I am, I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man.